Hello everyone, Victor Tanzik here, and welcome to the Reddit Railway. Today's destination is r/am I the arsehole, so all aboard! I had surgery a couple of days ago to get all 4 of my wisdom teeth out. They had to drug me pretty heavily because I'm terrified of going to the dentist. I was pretty much unconscious during the whole thing. They told me to have a responsible adult bring me to and from the appointment because I would have been in no condition to drive, and I wasn't. My mum was on a work trip, so I asked my sister-in-law Bree if she could do it. I would have asked my brother, but he works during the day while Bree is a stay-at-home mum whose daughter was spending the day with her grandmother. Bree agreed to take me to my appointment, and the surgery went fine. I was disoriented and nauseous, which I guess is normal. My mouth was stuffed with gauze to stop any bleeding. After I was discharged, Bree and I left. I don't really remember much of the drive, but after a while we suddenly stopped. Bree told me to get out of the car and follow her. I did because the only alternative was to stay in the hot car. Long story short, we were at a pool with some of her friends. She parked me on one of those table benches and said she'd be back in a while. I was trying not to puke. The intense heat and the drugs made me really dizzy. I asked her to take me home, but she wouldn't. I guess since she didn't have my niece, she'd treat this like a day off. I was starting to feel really sick, so I called my brother. Between the meds and the gauze, I don't think he could understand me. He must have hung up and called Bree because she came stomping over, cussing and yelling at me. She took me back to the car. When we drove back to their place, we found my brother waiting in the driveway. He had left work right after speaking to his wife. He was screaming at Bree and she was crying. I was still pretty disoriented, but my brother took me back home and stayed with me until the meds wore off. That's when he told me he's divorcing Bree because of what she did, as well as various other things. In the days since, Bree has been blowing up my phone. She's been calling me a bitch and saying my tattling is the reason why her family is being destroyed. Part of me feels bad because of my niece. I wonder if I should have just dealt with it and waited for her to be done at the pool instead of calling my brother and causing problems. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. No chance you're the asshole. As someone who's also had 4 wisdom teeth pulled, I know what the aftermath is like. You can barely function. The only place you should be is in bed, not at a pool. Bree sounds very thoughtless and inconsiderate, which is probably why your brother is divorcing her. I get the feeling this isn't the first time she's pulled something like this. There is an update, so let's see if that's true. First of all, thanks to everyone who reached out. I'm feeling much better now. I called my brother. I thanked him for coming to my rescue and asked how he was doing. He was all right, and then he told me about some of the things Bree has done in the past. A while back, he came home early and found my 2-year-old niece alone in their house. The front door was unlocked. He called Bree many times and she didn't answer. He was about to call the cops when she came home. Apparently, she went to the convenience store and left my niece all by herself. When my brother yelled at her, she said it was fine because nothing happened. When he said the door was unlocked, she said she must have forgotten and that it was no big deal. As to why she didn't answer her phone, she had left it on silent and in their bedroom. Bree called him dramatic and told him to stop telling her how to be a parent. My brother is taking some time off work to look after my niece. He had kicked Bree out of their house the same day I had my surgery. She is staying at a hotel that he is paying for, but he's given her 2 weeks to find a place before he stops. He says he's going for full custody because Bree is a danger to my niece and he doesn't trust her anymore. Despite all of this, my brother doesn't think she's malicious. She's just careless, selfish, and thoughtless. 3 reasons why someone should never be a parent. It's just as I thought. What Bree did to OP was the last straw. Really, the brother should be thanking OP for giving him the push to get his daughter away from Bree. I really hope he's able to get full custody. Best of luck to him. For context, I'm a woman and I married my wife a year ago. We had been together 6 years and married for 1 before she passed away. Things have been rough for me, but I'm getting through it one day at a time. Here's the issue. The ring my wife used to propose belonged to her late grandmother, who she was very close with. It was a family heirloom that had been passed down for generations. I haven't taken it off since getting it. It's easily my most prized possession. My brother-in-law wants to use it to propose to his girlfriend, but I've refused to give it back. This has caused a huge rift with my in-laws. My mother-in-law and brother-in-law are calling me an asshole as they want the ring to continue being part of their family. They're also throwing in my face the fact that grandmother wouldn't have wanted me to have it, which is true. I never met the woman since she passed long before I met my wife, but I gather she was against same-sex marriage. It's all gotten really nasty, and I just don't know what to do. The family has even offered to buy the ring off me at its full value, but I've still refused. It's the only thing I have of my wife, and I can't bear the idea of parting with it. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. It's perfectly understandable why you wouldn't want to give up the ring, and you shouldn't. It's yours now. I sort of get why the family would be upset, but they should respect your wishes. Maybe to get them to back off, you should threaten to sell it. There is an update, so let's see if she did. I talked with my sister-in-law regarding the ring. She's been acting as the mediator with the family, and we've always been good friends. She agreed from the beginning I should keep the ring. We met up to discuss things face to face. I told her about my Reddit post. Based on the advice given, I've decided to will the ring to the first niece or nephew born in the family, but if I decide to remarry, I'll hand it back sooner if I feel like I'm ready. Sister-in-law said this was a great idea and fully supported it. After we concluded the whole business side of things, I then asked if there was more to the family's reaction than I believed, and yes, there was. It was to do with my father-in-law, who I've never really liked. The ring is from his side of the family. The grandmother was his mother. He has a very greedy nature, and although he hated his mother, he despised the fact something of value had been taken away from him, something he considered to be part of his inheritance. I forgot to mention in my post the ring is extremely valuable. He's also openly homophobic and hated my late wife for it. After she passed, he saw it as an opportunity to get the ring back. He began pressuring his family to harass me into turning it over. Sister-in-law said brother-in-law doesn't even want it for his fiancée, but they're all scared of father-in-law and he would make mother-in-law's life hell. I decided I was going to move back home to be with my family, which sister-in-law was happy about. We shed a lot of tears and I left. We talked again after she relayed all the relevant information to the family. Apparently, father-in-law wasn't happy, but she said brother-in-law and mother-in-law were. It always brings a smile to my face whenever a bigot gets buggered. I'm so glad OP didn't hand the ring over. If it's as valuable as she says, the father-in-law probably would have sold it once he got his hands on it. I'm slightly concerned that might happen anyway if and when it's willed back to the family, but one can hope such a thing doesn't happen. Well done, OP, and I'm sorry for your loss. Recently, I learned our company will be carrying out layoffs. I have 4 people working directly under me and have to pick one of them to terminate. This has been extremely difficult for me because all of them have the same amount of experience and competence, but the one I'm leaning towards is a guy named Adam. There's just one problem. Recently, his wife was hospitalized. Her condition was so bad that doctors weren't even sure if she'd survive. She's still there, leaving him to care for their 2 children all by himself. In between consoling them and visiting his wife, he's been pretty stressed and distracted. As a result, his performance and productivity have plummeted. He's also been showing up late and leaving early. He's also not as focused as before and has been making mistakes. We've tried to politely tell him he needs to pick up his game. He always apologizes and promises to do better, but never does. I'm 99% sure he needs this job because our company has really good healthcare coverage. If we lay him off, I'm sure that's going to affect him for the worse. Also, all of my subordinates are aware of his situation, so I'm sure laying him off will affect the team's morale. I tried explaining all this to HR and my superiors and asked them for more time to come up with a solution. They told me there was nothing they could do. The decision to downsize had come from the highest levels of the company. I have to make a decision by Friday morning so HR can deliver the news at the start of next week. Per company policy, I'm not allowed to tell any of my staff about the upcoming layoffs, so I can't ask any of them if they'd be willing to resign voluntarily. Initially, my attitude was, don't blame me, blame capitalism and the healthcare system, but I heard some differing opinions from friends and family. In fact, the main reason why I'm posting is one of my friends said the following: "Hey, you have a lot of experience and are fairly well off. You wouldn't have trouble finding other work in this market. So if you just comply, do you really have a right to pin all the blame on the system instead of taking personal responsibility?" I didn't know what to say. They are right. I would be able to easily get another job in our field, but I don't know. Would I be the asshole for laying Adam off? No assholes here, except maybe your friend. Their advice is tantamount to setting yourself on fire to keep others warm. Even if you did that, it wouldn't make Adam's situation any better. As long as his wife is sick, he'll remain distracted, which is completely understandable. But if he's going to keep underperforming as a result, then can you really afford to keep him on? If the rest of your team have to pick up his slack, how's that going to affect their morale? I don't see an easy solution to this, but there is an update, so let's see if one was found. I had another meeting with HR and my department head to try and find a solution. We decided the best way to determine who should be laid off would be to review performance figures for all my guys prior to when Adam's wife got sick. Whoever had the lowest score would get the boot, and unfortunately, that person was Adam. I wasn't too happy, especially since it meant he would be losing our company's health insurance. Or so I thought. I was then informed by HR any employee who was made redundant would receive an extension to their health insurance as part of their severance package. This made me feel a bit better. On Tuesday morning, Adam was laid off alongside everyone else who had been chosen. It was mentally exhausting. There were a lot of tears and shocked faces, but we explained the severance package and health coverage. I told Adam I was willing to be a reference if he needed one. That night, Adam reached out to me and the rest of the team to thank us, while dropping in some choice words about the company, which I completely understand. So that's all for now. There was never going to be a good ending here, but at least Adam's health insurance is being extended. This should give him time to adjust and help out his family. Yeah, this really was a lose-lose situation. Well done to OP for trying to help. Not many bosses would do that. At least Adam's health insurance is being extended, so he should find some relief. Best of luck to him, and I hope his wife pulls through. And with that, I'll end the video here. Like, share, and subscribe, and leave a comment down below. Thank you very much for watching, and have a good one.